So I figured I'd start with something general but specific and really broad to sort of set the flavor of our conversation today, which is, what is a conversation?
Um, I mean, at the simplest level, I think it's an engagement between two or more people. And I don't think it only has to be on the verbal level. There's this wonderful frame of levels of conversation that one of my teachers came up with, that we can talk on the informational level. Like, what do you do? And how's the weather today? We can talk on the emotional level. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel about, the weather today, or about your job, or whatever? And then we can have a conversation on the relational level. What's happening between us here and now? What's the quality of the connection? And then maybe relevant to listeners of this podcast on the kind of transformational or transpersonal level. What is kind of the intuitive felt sense of what's happening between us, even below our words? Because when we're having a conversation, I think there's what we're saying, and then there's also what we're being informed by in ourselves and what we're being informed by in each other. That can be like all the different senses that we're picking up on without even knowing it, both the translation of our words and the transmission of our being that comes through, the hand motions I'm doing and the way my face is animating and the tone of my voice. That gives you all the signals, I think, of what sort of conversation am I having with myself, even as I'm having one with you.
Mm. Yeah, one of the things I hear you sort of pointing at here is that maybe in contrast to sort of generally, like, what is a conversation? Oh, it's a conversation is two people talking, and it's, and at some point it could feel really good or it could feel really shallow. It's sort of this, maybe like a bit of a flattened understanding would be
Mm-hmm.
the casual one. Like, oh yeah, a conversation, you're talking with a person. What I see you speaking to is just like, you even use the word levels, right? But a sort of like a very rich ecosystem of complexity that emerges when two seemingly, individual subjective consciousness, like come together and try to like explore something within each other and between, like, in the space of the middle. And that in that sort of meeting, there's so many different variables and different ways to go, or places you can go and you can explore on the content level and on these other levels as well. Does that sound like I kind of got a sense of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's so much happening below our words at all times, and so much we pick up on from each other that's not said. It's like, I love the metaphor of the matrix, that there's like what shows up on a computer screen, but there's all the layers of code behind that. One of the things that I love about my practices, and I think is true about psychedelics as well, is it gives us this key, at least for a little while, to see and hear some of that code. And once we see it, it's a thing that oftentimes can't be unseen.
Hmm. Yeah. I want, when you said like your practice, I want to get into that later, authentic relating, and how, like, we're talking about the potentials of a conversation, but something else could be said about the potentials of being in water, right? Like, yeah, like any
Mm-hmm.
one of us could be in water, subject to whatever the conditions of the water, our inner temperament. But whether or not we can swim or dive or like drive a boat, like whether or not we have the skillfulness to navigate waters in an effective, creative, curious way, that is not a given. Being able to be in water, assuming water is available, sure, we can all do that, but then there are a skillfulness that opens up different possibility spaces that might not be there otherwise, which authentic relating
Yeah.
is about.